It's Loathsome Things, a horror movie podcast brought to you by the fine folks over at Brand Name with your hosts, John and Josh. John, how are you on this fine, fully vitalized masculinity day?
I'm doing well. I don't know, is that?
I don't know.
Brother. I don't know.
Brother.
And yourself?
My bones hurt.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're good at this.
We're so good. We're professionals.
We've been doing this for long enough that this is how good we are.
We're smoothly and comfortably within the top 150 in Taiwan.
Oh, yeah. We did peak in the top 50. Apparently, at some point, we were number 49 in Taiwan.
There are only 48 other movie review podcasts who are more popular than ours.
I feel like probably our popularity in Taiwan is derived of one guy that, like, makes his friends listen to us because he thinks it's funny how confused his friends get.
You need to listen to this.
Oh, God.
And we just dropped off the chart.
Okay, there we go. All of Asia and California no longer listening.
Whew. Oh. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Today, we are going to be covering Jeremy Gillespie and Stephen Kostanski's 2016 semi-crowdfunded practical effects spectacular, Devoid.
Devoid. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good. This is third Canadian movie in a row, if you count the last one, which was an Australian movie, but directed by a Canadian, so...
Yeah, that's true. Canada has, if you kind of look into it, Canada has a lot of really cool horror stuff, besides just the Cronenbergies.
Yeah. Which this one has... I wouldn't say this is very Cronenbergian, but it's got, it's got some body horror elements. It's really way more John Carpenterian than Cronenbergian.
That's true. It does. That's true. It's got an interesting cast of Canadians.
Canadians?
Yeah, they're from Canada.
Yeah. So Kostanski is an art department guy. He works on things like The Expanse, the movie It, and the TV series Da Boys.
Nice.
Gillespie has more directorial credits, but he's really more of a makeup department guy. But he still has directed a lot of movies, including Manborg, BioCop, W is for Wish in the ABCs of Death 2.
Oh, nice.
Leprechaun Returns and Psycho Gorman.
Yep.
This is part of the, Astron 6 or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. That I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. They're a comedy horror Canadian collective of filmmakers.
Cool.
And this was like the one that broke out of the mold and was not as much of a comedy.
Yeah, I was going to say, this movie is fucking hilarious.
It's got one really good spit take comedy moment, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. As it is, I don't know about straightforward. I just keep talking in a row.
That's good.
It's good. Yeah. So this movie was funded in the normal way. It had, a studio behind it, but they wanted more money for practical effects because they're a couple of cool dudes. Mm-hmm. So they crowdfunded practical effects on Indiegogo and raised $82,500, which is why we got such cool shit out of here.
Yeah, the effects are phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't understand how they were able to do this on $82,000. Not only are the effects really good, but there's a lot of them. This movie skips to it.
I mean, and then the movie's shot in an old school that was eventually torn down after the movie was shot. But they put a lot of effort into making it look like a hospital. I mean, they must have spent some bucks just doing that alone.
Yeah.
Just building that big ass hospital sign, like the emergency room entrance sign. I mean, that stuff costs money.
Yeah. Yeah, they put a lot of effort into this movie, and here I've got a quote from Jeremy Gillespie. He said, quote, "Every single thing was the biggest challenge. It was a soul-crushing nightmare. Everybody was pushed to the limit on this movie. The one ray of hope we got was the cast, which came together at the last second. They were easy to deal with."
I mean, they got a lot of pros in that cast, like people with a lot of experience, some of them with a ton of experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody did a great job. And it's one of the things that's so great about this movie is that it just feels like it's done well from beginning to end. It just, you can tell they didn't spend a massive amount of money making it, but everything's done, tastefully, like done in the way that it takes you on this ridiculous ride, and nothing feels like, we're just going to have to do it this way because we didn't have enough money to do it the other way. It never feels like that. It feels, like it works as a whole piece. It's a really great movie.
Yeah, it really is. There are times at which you can see the budget, like
yeah.
There are shots which they purposefully put out of frame because they didn't have the budget to do that additional practical effect. Mm-hmm. But that's even then, a lot of that's at the beginning of the movie, and then towards the end it's just constant. It's incredible. This movie is really amazing. It's cheesy. The dialogue is at time just laughably bad. But, I mean, that's also the kind of movie they were trying to make. There are so many bad one-liner scenes in here that are just very John Carpenter-y. But I love it. Yeah. I love this movie.
Yeah. It's great schlock, for sure. I mean, it's so much fun to watch. And you can watch this movie. I mean, I've seen this movie so many times. You can just watch it over and over, and it's entertaining every time.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this movie, years before we ever talked about making a podcast.
That's true. We did. Yeah, we were both huge fans of this movie from the start.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. Yeah. All right. It stars Aaron Poole, who is most famous to this podcast for playing the bone flute guy in The Empty Man.
Yeah.
Yes. It was great seeing him again. I was like, yeah, that is him. Sure enough. Great.
I know. It's crazy. I was like, wow, he's the sleazy cop in The Void.
Yeah. It's just that hair. That hair is constantly messing with it. Fuck that cop.
He is a douche.
There's also Kenneth Welsh, who is most famous probably for playing Wyndham Earle on Twin Peaks.
Yeah. So cool.
Got Ellen Wong, most famously from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, also Glow and The Carrie Diaries, and my personal favorite, Dark Matter. We get a guest appearance from Art Hindle, who played Chris in the original Black Christmas and Ted in Porky's, and Frank in The Brood.
The Brood. It's so cool to see him.
So fucking cool. That, the junkie guy in this, too, he often plays a junkie in movies, which, that has to feel nice.
He's typecast as a junkie.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we've got a part for you. It's not a junkie, is it? Well, yeah.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
But he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah. So a big part of the way that this project came together is that Gillespie and Kostanski were working on the first Suicide Squad movie. You know, that wretched abortion of a music video?
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what, they were working on, they were getting ready to do this movie when they were working on that, so they went ahead and just grabbed a bunch of the special effects people from that movie and got them to be the crew of this movie.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so one awesome thing came out of that horrible Suicide Squad movie.
That turd of a film.
They're like, let's remake it, get rid of everyone except for Harley Quinn. All right, here we go. An acceptable movie.
That's right. A passable movie.
So, yeah, that's we're going into it. This is one of the movies that we often refer to as not John Carpenter's The Thing, along with The Thing from Another Planet. The prequel, The Thing, that was not John Carpenter. What's the other one?
Something Down?
Yeah, Watership Down.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Piper Down.
Yeah. It's good. We're good at this.
Yeah. Some frozen shit, and then something is down.
Yes. Harbinger Down. That's it.
There it is.
Hey.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, John, before we move into it, would you recommend that people watch this movie?
Oh, for sure. Over and over again, because it's a lot of fun. It's just straight up horror fun.
Yeah. It's not filmmaking at its apex, but it is like horror movie greatness.
Oh yeah. It doesn't let up, and it's only 90 minutes long. They don't try to turn it into some 2.5 hour epic or any of that bullshit. They just keep it nice and sweet.
Nice. All right. So go watch it, then listen to us ruin the whole thing.
Oh man, because it's gonna be good. So, anyways, we see this house with a big black triangle on the door. A dude bolts out the door, and he's followed by a screaming lady who is immediately shot while the other guy bolts off into the woods. There's two dudes come out, the guy with the gun that shoots her, and then there's the smaller dude. The big guy says, he won't get far, and then they pour gasoline all over the lady and torch her, which is awesome. And then we see that there is a berobed person with a black triangle over their face, watching from the woods, just kind of standing there looking all creepy. And that takes us into some indie rock creepy credits. And the movie really has that nice, like, kind of yawning chasm void sound that carries through most of the film. Just that, ooh. It's really pretty awesome. Yeah. It's really good. So then we see this cop, the douchey cop with the hair. He's in his car. At first I was like, why is he wearing a leather, like, bomber jacket? What kind of cop is... And then I realized he had a uniform underneath. But yeah, he's doing his stupid, like, radio flirting with the girl back at the station, or, now you. And then, as he's sitting in his car, he sees the missing dude now crawling into the street, not doing so great. So he quickly shifts into cop gear and picks the guy up. Ends up having to take him to what is called Marsh Hospital, which had suffered a terrible fire and was in the process of closing. Was still technically open, but they're in the process of closing so they can move to a new location. So anyways, he takes him there, and as soon as we get there, it's like, yeah, this place is not good. Mm-mm. And there's a girl in the front lobby who's in labor with her grandfather's there with her. And, it's just kind of hectic as soon as the guy shows up. The power flickers on and off while they're there. The patient basically just flips his fucking shit until they're able to get some drugs into him. Turns out he's a junkie because he's got needle marks all over his arm. Great. We see this. We meet Allison, the nurse, and we realize that she has a relationship with Daniel. Turns out that they're married, but they're no longer together because he mentions that she's his wife at some point. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, they're no longer together, and you realize that she had lost a baby, and that's obviously contributed to the demise of their relationship. So great, that's always good person to be around during an emergency. Daniel the cop finds there's this guy that we meet. He's like talking to Kim, this like nurse in training, I guess she is, and she's just asking him all this dumb shit like, I can give you a catheter. And then she leaves, and Daniel walks into the room. He hears like moaning and stuff coming from the room where this guy had just been talking to Kim, the nursist, and he walks in, and there's this weird lady, like with a nurse with her back to him, and you see up close she's pulling a pair of scissors out of the dude's eye socket. And then she, like, turns around and she's all bloody and, like, disgusting and comes after him. And, of course, he has to shoot her to get her to stop. And it's really creepy.
Yeah, she's been using the scissors to cut the skin off of her own face. It's fucking awesome.
It's just great.
This movie does not waste time.
No, and he freaks the fuck out and goes into the bathroom and barfs, and immediately has some sort of trippy moment while he's looking at himself in the mirror, so something is already affecting him. We cut to a shot of a barren, rocky landscape with, like, weird dark clouds floating around and very, kind of, like, Hellraiser-y looking. And then we see a quick shot of, like, some weird, stretchy, red, rubbery flesh gore with, like, holes and puncture wounds and stuff. It's being all stretched in different directions. It's really disgusting and great.
Yes.
Daniel wakes up on the floor, and the doctor's there, and Allison, and everybody's worried. Oh, we gotta get him up. And then they tell him that the trooper has arrived, so, it's gonna save the day, of course. They talk about how the junkie had been covered in blood, but it was somebody else's blood, and the trooper tells them about how there had been a bloodbath somewhere up the road, and they decide that they need to make a call. They need to call it in. For whatever reason, Daniel is insistent that he wants to make the call, which is kind of a weird, like, okay, whatever. So he can't get the phones to work and anywhere in the hospital, so he decides he's going to go out to his patrol car to call in the killing. His radio doesn't work either. But while he's out there, he sees one of the robed dudes. And then the power goes out in the hospital. And he's all like, hey, what do you do? What the hell's going on? And then the robe guy completely, like, just comes at him really fast. It's pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
And very reminiscent of a scene in another movie that I won't give away because we might do that movie one day.
Ooh.
But, yeah. Anyways, and so, yeah, that's awesome. He gets stabbed, but not quite, like, to the hilt stab, but still pretty stabbed.
He gets a poke.
Yeah, he gets a nice poke. Suddenly, there's robes aplenty. There's, like, rows of robed guys. Daniel gets inside. He's able to stumble inside. The stabby nurse is now, like, has now turned into the Thing, basically. Like, you see her back in the room, and the little tendril things are coming out of her eye sockets. And, yeah, doing that.
It's so good.
It's so amazing. Daniel he's pretty messed up, but anyways, he comes back too, because at first it looked like he was probably gonna die or something, and they're all freaking out. We gotta get him, and blah, blah, whatever. He wakes up again, and in the meantime, there's, like, buttloads of robes outside. It's like a robathon. And they he decides that they need to barricade the doors and get help.
Yep. And so yeah, Bev has turned into the be-tentacled monster, and it turned out that they had locked the junkie up to the hospital bed that she was transforming behind. So they have to go in there. They have to get him out of there. They lock her in the room. And just as they're coming back out of that room, the duo of girl burners from the beginning of the movie show up and are pointing guns at everyone. And at this exact same moment, the junkie grabs a scalpel, the pregnant girl, and is now holding her hostage. And there's this great shot of Aaron Poole realizing that both things are happening at the same time. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. And part of this is that the state trooper had to take his gun away because he killed a nurse, and that the state trooper's like, your father was a really good cop. What would he think about all this? It doesn't really matter.
No.
The junkie ends up stabbing Dr. Powell to death, and then Grandpa comes along and just knocks him straight out. Lots of one-liners are delivered in here. Just then, Nurse Monster nabs the state trooper, drags him away, and fills his body in with her hair tentacles. And then the duo plus Daniel get to chopping with the axes and shooting lumps off of her body with the gun. It's really good.
It's so cool. Lots of
yeah, like just weird like sheaves of speckled flesh sliding over lumpy nonsense slime. It's real good. They end up having to chop the state trooper's head off to get the whole mound to stop quivering. So good, really good.
Yep.
Like, and it's just the beginning. You're like, wow, they must have spent their entire practical effects budget on this. And then it's like, oh no, they didn't.
There's more to come.
Daniel and the duo decide to go get the gun from his squad car, which has now rolled all the way away to the tree line. While they're out doing this, Allison realizes that she needs to get supplies to save the pregnant girl, which she has to go into like the part of the burned out, closed down part of the hospital. While she's there, she gets nabbed by Dr. Powell, who we all thought was dead. The Triangle KKK is now entirely surrounding the building. The phone rings, Daniel answers it, it's Dr. Powell. He says cryptic things about how cool Daniel is and how he's going to help everyone and how what he's doing is altruistic. They hang up the phone, they're Polaroids of creepy nonsense, and then they develop the plan, which is we're going into the burnt out basement to look for Allison.
Yes, that's right. It's like, oh, what could possibly go wrong? So Daniel and the dudes visit the junkie to get some answers. They cuff him. Did they cuff him to the thing, or did they just hold his hand up to this pole, this like bar? I guess
the handrail. Yeah,
yeah. There's like that handrail. That's right. And they're basically plying him for answers, and I mean, I guess he kind of knows some stuff, but they already know what he knows. I mean, he you know, they're threatening to bash his fingers in with a claw hammer, and he's like, you know, okay, the doctor is him. He's in on it or whatever. And they're like, we already know that, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, wait. And like, he keeps trying to save himself with all this garbage information, and none of it works. And I thought that they bashed his finger, but I guess they were just trying to scare him. So they hooked the claw on the handlebar thing. And so he's useless, but then they're like, okay, he finally tells them that, you know, he was out looking he had heard there was this place where he could go to get some crystal. And he shows up at this place, and it's this weird, like, farmhouse where there's, like, you know, human sacrifice and roby guys and just all kinds of weird shit going on. And they're like, oh, okay, wow. Well, I guess you're going to have to come with us to this nasty-ass basement, and you go first.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn it. They treat that guy so bad throughout the movie, and the only thing he's done is be a junkie.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he did hold a scalpel up to a pregnant miner's neck, but,
okay,
you know,
yeah,
what are you going to do?
That's true. That was a little inappropriate. Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, you know, cut the guy some slack. He's had a rough day.
It's okay. It's getting much worse.
Oh, man.
So they have him lead the way. They're able to kind of communicate back and forth with Kim on the radio, Kim on the radio, and like the radio's cutting out at places and stuff, and it's not a great connection. And then they basically come across a stairway that shouldn't be there, and you know, and they're like, we're probably just going to take this stairway. She's like, that's probably not a good idea.
Don't do that one.
Yeah, and then the radio cuts out, of course, and then they make Junkie. It's okay because, again, they make Junkie go first. And then we cut to Allison, who wakes up, and she's, like, lying on her back on, like, a medical table, and, you know, she's got those lights above her, that array of lights that looks like roasted garlic. And,
yes.
She's in there, and, you know, it turns out that the doctor is in there as well. He's got his back to her, and he's, you know, saying all kinds of weird shit. And he gives her some great lines like, "You'd be surprised the things you find when you go looking."
There it is, yeah.
It's so good. And then he talks a bunch of bullshit. You can see that it would appear as though he's surgically removing parts of his body as he talks to her, which is great. In the meantime, the gang finds themselves in this big, open, like, crappy-looking room that's very brightly lit red. This movie loves red and blue a lot.
Yes.
Mostly blue, some red. So they're in this weird, creepy room. Someone says it smells like a cemetery, which I thought was like, I've been to cemeteries. They don't smell particularly unusual, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Back upstairs, Kim decides that she's going to give some sort of drug to Maggie to calm her because she's flipping her shit. Because, I mean, we all know that something bad is going to happen there. It's pretty odd. They're pretty much projecting that. But anyways, Kim's freaking out herself, so she drugs her and gets her to calm down a little bit. Now we're back to the dudes in the, downstairs, and we see that Daniel is having void visions while looking at this black triangle that's painted on a door in this area that isn't supposed to be there. So he sees the triangle, it triggers him. Great. What better idea than to enter the doorway? Back to Allison and Dr. Richard, who is talking about metamorphosis and how he's been working on these transformations and that he's made some quote-unquote mistakes. And those mistakes caused the fire, and he had some mishaps with his quote-unquote mistakes. Then he starts giving Allison a bunch of crap, like taunting her basically about her baby's death, and compares the death of his daughter to that, and how he wants to bring his daughter back and all this crap. And then he's like, I can stop it. And then he's like, more like nonsense. And then this line, the true resurrection. Some good pseudo-religious, weird, culty, reanimator type. It's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Dr. Herbert West type stuff. Turns out that Allison is now creepy preggers. She's got the like weird lumpy pushing thing trying to get out pregnancy that movies love to have because it's disgusting and creepy. And then the gang, they find themselves in this room. They come across what I would describe as gory meat carnage.
Yes.
It's just like just carcasses hanging and laying on the ground, and they're all like mutated and disgusting looking, and everything's really gross. And then back to Maggie, who's now bleeding from that region, and is freaking out again. And then so something really bad is going on upstairs. Back downstairs, Daniel hears weird baby shit.
Yes.
But like really weird sounding. And then all the gory meat carnage basically comes to and starts, attacking them in a nice, slow, creepy fashion. And it's really great. I mean, it's really great. There's some great creatures. There's like one that's basically just bashing his head over and over on a pole. And there's just this huge hole through its skull. And then it stops and like pulls off, turns and looks at them. And you can see them through the hole in its head.
It's so good. I call that guy the headbanger. It's every bit of meat on the vector of him smashing his face into this sharp pole has already been removed, and so he's just doing it. So now just the donut of his head is just thunking meatily into the wall around the pole. It's so good.
It's fantastic. I mean, that whole scene is just where all hell is broken loose, and it's just wonderful. I love it.
Oh man.
Back upstairs, Kim decides that she's going to do a C-section, and several times teases with getting the scalpel right up there, but she's just freaking out too much. And then we hear the windows, or the front doors, the glass doors are all shattering, so we know that the robes are getting in. Down in the basement is just complete pandemonium. It's so great and really creepy.
Yes.
Then back upstairs, and Ben is talking to Kim, and all of a sudden his throat is slashed, and he falls to the ground, and Maggie's standing behind her. She's now completely under, like, the doctor's thrall. She's just like, she's all crazy and weird, and Kim's kind of like Well, she leaves with a couple of the robes guys. They, like, head out, basically. So Kim runs away and goes and hides somewhere, like in some cabinet or something.
Yeah, like a vent or something. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. And then we're back downstairs, the mute guy, who he's apparently mute because he has a bandage on his neck. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get that. They were like, well, we can't afford to do a cutout tongue practical effect, so he's got a bandage on his neck, therefore can't talk.
Yeah, so, okay. Yeah. He's now fighting with the big burly guy, and they're in some sort of, like, room in a house. Like, it's they're I guess they're imagining it, or it's projected towards them or whatever. And anyway, so they have this fight, and mute guy lights a flare and basically stabs dad. He's a father, but he stabs the dude in the gut with it. And the character's called Father. I don't know, it's weird. Anyways,
they're a father and son.
Is that what? Yeah, okay. So he stabs his dad in the gut with it, and then back upstairs we see Kim in her little hiding place, and she sees there's a robe guy out there somewhere dragging an axe, like, through the hall, just, and she sees pass by her line of sight a little bit, just off in the distance. It's a cool little shot.
Of course, bathed in a red glow.
Yes, it's very red up there at that point.
Meanwhile, downstairs, Daniel finally finds Allison. She's pregnant, and they're having this touching moment where they're reunited until Dr. Powell's voice breaks in, ruins the spell, and Daniel sees that, in fact, she's given birth to an entire room full of writhing, pulsating grossness. There's just tentacles growing out of her and shit growing along the walls and along the floor. Everything's moving around, and it's questionable as to whether or not she's alive. Oh yeah, Dr. Powell says, she's a mother, isn't she beautiful? And, just to put a nice end to all of this, Daniel takes the fireman's axe and gives his wife a good chopping to make sure that she doesn't have to, Anyway.
Live. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that great shot through the glass in the doorway, like, kind of like semi-opaque glass, and you can just see the silhouette of him just hacking away at her corpse. It's amazing.
And all throughout all of this, we've been getting stuff about how his and Daniel and Allison's relationship was ruined by her miscarriage. And then Dr. Powell's like, yeah, but your secret is that you were happy that she had a miscarriage. And it's
That's
like,
right.
Ooh, what are we playing with here, guy? Okay.
Yeah, it was a little deep.
We see Dr. Powell back downstairs. He's giving a whole speech about stuff, and we see him, and he is now, instead of a dude, he's like a cool Ripley Power Rangers level gooey monster.
Yeah.
Very Psycho Gorman looking.
Yeah, very, very Stranger Things gore, like season last one, whatever.
Yeah, lots of shiny chest Play-Doh. It's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
And then back upstairs, it's still downstairs. Yeah, the pregnant girl shows up and stabs Daniel from behind so that he can die and join Dr. Powell in the goodness. And then she gives birth. She also gets the pregnant belly bubbles and gives birth to what I call an immensity of ickiness that
Yes.
explodes out of her stomach. She starts panicking at the last minute, and she's dead now, and the huge monster baby that she's given birth to is dragging her dead body around behind her by the umbilical cord. The duo shows up at this point. They're here to do damage. They get into a fight with the baby, and the father gets all entangled with the ickiness's tentacles, so the son sets them both on fire and then makes his escape. He's like, yeah, fuck this. Powell is still talking now. He's talking about the infinite astral gates. Daniel then shoves them both into a triangle that has appeared in the wall. It is just light pouring in from the other side. He pushes them both through it. They disappear on the other side. The wall closes up as they move through. And then the entire hospital sub-basement that they're in begins collapsing around them. The sun is running from the immense ickiness, which gets squished by the walls closing in. He finds the nursing student upstairs, they hug it out, then we pan to a shot of Daniel and Allison, who are grasping hands. They are reunited finally, and we see that they are in fact on some sort of strange dimension with a massive triangle hovering overhead. The end is now.
Yeah, the ending's a little bit, because I know that, and of course I've read that it's obvious anyway that the triangle was meant to be open for interpretation. But I mean, the movie's called The Void, and they end up in some sort of void, which is clearly an alternate dimension of whatever sort you want it to be. My assumption would be that the place is evil. But they don't seem too concerned about it when they're there. They're holding hands. They're bloody, but they're restored, more or less. I mean, he's been stabbed like 800 times throughout the movie. Yeah. He hacked her into chunks, like, into paste. So, so whatever has happened now, they are now some semblance of their former selves, holding hands and looking at this pyramid thing. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting for us to try and interpret what that was.
It's really good. It's very, the landscape has these weird jagged bits. If you read the description in the Call of Cthulhu in the original, text, he talks about the weird geometry that doesn't make sense. It gives very much that. So yeah, this movie is very Lovecraftian, and it's kind of a marriage of John Carpenter and Clive Barker elements, all of those smushed together in a really good cosmic horror. It's fucking good.
It's very good. It's well done. It's super entertaining. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's a blast, man. It's the movie that a lot of horror fans had been wanting to see for a long time. And, the thing really set that up, and you still can't, I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to outdo the effects from The Thing, because they are just beautiful. They're just beautiful. But, there's some cool shit in this movie. And, for $82,000 that they raised, through their crowdfunding, and then whatever they got on top of that, I imagine a few million, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
I hope. But for God's sake, that movie looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see, there are times where you can see that they had budget constraints. They had they couldn't show the whole thing happen. The lighting had to be dimmed. There's lots of strobe effects in here because it helps make it's darker. That's fine. They did a great job. Yeah. And it sounds like they went through hell doing it.
I can imagine. They said, they just came right out and said it was hellish.
Yeah. This sucked, you guys.
You better fucking like this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is if you were going to make a movie specifically for both of us, this is pretty much that movie. This is right up the Loathsome Things alley.
Yeah, you're not going to hear a lot of complaining out of us. This is one of those movies that scratches an itch.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, thank you for making this movie that I've been wanting to see.
Yes. All of the more of these, please. I don't know about The Void 2 exactly, but, more, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And all Lovecraft fans are always on the hunt for, good cosmic horror. And there's a lot of good cosmic horror fiction. There's not a lot of good cosmic horror movies, but there are some.
And this is
definitely one of them.
Yeah. And it's all the better for not taking itself seriously. This is a little bit more, almost a little bit Basket Case. It's not quite as madcap as Basket Case, but it's just a little hint of zany in there. It's not taking itself too seriously.
Yeah, it has that a little bit of that kind of 80s, like I was mentioning, Dr. Herbert West type Reanimator craziness, like the crazy doctor, the just these ridiculous creatures that are, just like weird tumorous amalgamations of flesh and tentacles and tendrils and stuff that we've seen, done before, but done really well here. And I mean, this movie is just another argument for the power of practical effects. CGI has its place for sure. And
easily, yeah.
And I love a lot of movies that have CGI, and I don't, they've come a long way with it where it doesn't look quite so CGI-ish. Mm-hmm. And good directors know how to use it in a way that it's CGI, but you don't care. It's that effective. This movie doesn't really need it. I mean, the computer generated effects are probably like obviously going to be like the landscapes and stuff, but those are more like almost like composite effects or highly treated shots of like actual landscapes, maybe layered. Those could be like camera tricks more than even CGI. I mean, there obviously is some in there.
Yeah,
but they they could have duplicated a lot of that stuff with practical effects too, and and then like the whole robes thing is fucking great. It's
they
so
did a
simple.
great job with that. Yeah,
the triangle works so well. It kind of looks like hazmat suits, but it's also definitely robes, so you get this weird like culty feel about it. I don't know, man. It just hit right.
With those robe guys, there's that one scene where they all appear at the tree line, and they
mm-hmm.
all like lift up their arm at the same time, and they're all like holding a knife pointed down at the exact same angle. It's like, oh fuck, we're done. That's not okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. The people don't do those things.
No. Yeah. There's also, I will say this for the movie, is it like super rewards multiple viewings? Because there are lots of cool little details in here that you don't think to pay attention to on the first time through. At the very beginning of the movie, when he's talking to the dispatcher and they're like, hey, we need you to like go to this place or whatever. He's like, well, what about all of the other 3 deputies that this town has? Like, none of them are responding. They're just not responding. And he's like, oh, that's weird. Okay, I'll do it. And then he's like, all right, so I'm going to bring this guy into the hospital. Would you radio ahead and let them know that I'm coming and let them know that it's me? And then when he gets here, you find out that the dispatcher has not in fact done that. And there's all of these other little elements where you're finding out that like the cult is closing in around them, and either those other deputies are some of those cult members or they're getting killed by the cult members. Probably the dispatcher got dispatched by the cult somewhere between him leaving for and arriving at the hospital. So good. Yeah.
It's good writing. I mean, you're creating a scope without having to show anything. It's literally just words putting ideas in your head, and your head, like your image of this expands. Yeah, they're all trapped in this hospital, but whatever the hell's going on is not just right here on this it's converging on the hospital, but that whole area is fucked.
Yeah. There's even one little reference in there where the guy with the rifle is like, oh, the horns outside are calling them here. And up until that moment, we were like, oh, these horns are like a sound effect for our benefit. And then we're like, oh no, they're hearing these horns too. That's where is that coming from? It's gotta be coming from the fucking sky triangle is blaring its horn and summoning things there. It's like, oh shit, that's awesome!
Yeah, that is really cool. And instead of like trying really hard to shoehorn, an effect that didn't work really well by showing you some sky triangle in the real world, they just don't even show it. They just imply that this is a lot larger than, anybody had originally anticipated, and it works.
Yeah.
It's a great trick, really, because all movies have to do that. I mean, you can't show everything. Even if you had an unlimited budget, you only have a certain amount of time, so you've got to leave certain things out so people talk about it. And this movie just uses it so well.
It's fucking great. I love this movie. It's probably my favorite of the not John Carpenter's The Things. Like, it's the top-notch one.
It's definitely my favorite for sure. I mean, I've enjoyed most of them, really.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm a sucker for that stuff, as you are as well. And we've even done, what was that one that we did, which also was a Canadian movie, like early on. It was some
Black Mountain Side.
Black Mountain. Yeah, Black Mountain Side. That was like a no budget.
Yeah.
Take on this kind of stuff, sort of in its own way. and it was good. They did a great job with it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They created a cool atmosphere, and I mean, it was kept my attention from beating it in. The deer was a little bit problematic.
Well,
he might as well have been. Maybe if he was wearing pants, I would have been more comfortable with him standing upright.
Oh, but then you run into the question of if a deer wore pants, would it wear it this way or this way or this way?
That's why they opted not to go with the pants.
Like, maybe we just skip the pants.
Some prop guy somewhere has all these weird pants stored away.
Oh, and they're deer legs too, so they are the skinniest skinny jeans. They're like, what are these for?
Well, he's gonna like hook up with someone one day, like, romantically, and they're gonna move in together, and one day that person will be going through his closet and be like, what are all these pants with this hair all over it?
It's like, sorry, Nick Kostanski, or I don't remember his name, but
that's right.
Kostanski was like, I need you to figure out how a deer would wear pants.
Oh my god. Where are my pants?
Oh, good. Okay. I wanted to point out that this movie's timing is different than what you would get in a normal movie. Like this movie gets to it way quicker, and as a result, like before I started watching it again for us to record, my memory of it was like the beginning of the movie. Like I remembered the beginning of the movie and like little bits of the end. But yeah, like this movie gets to the like 1 hour mark in the first 15 minutes. And then it just keeps going deeper and deeper, and you don't get that most of the time. Most of the time you get that like first monster and it's like, oh my god, what is this? And this one just gets that over with. It's fantastic. It doesn't super work great. Like the story doesn't always hold together really well. It wasn't written to be an excellent piece of storytelling. It was written to be a really cool horror movie. And they nailed that. Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I love the fact that it gets to the good part quickly, and then the good part is forever.
I know. And then they just ride it out until the end.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So John, what did you rate this on a scale of 0 to 5 loathsome things?
I mean, I wish I could give this movie a 5. I mean, I could, but I don't think it's quite up there with like the greats of the greats, but it's pretty damn close. And in time, it may become that. I hope it does. I know it's got its own following and stuff, but I think this movie's less popular than it should be.
I agree.
Because it would definitely appeal to a larger audience. I mean, maybe it's not mainstream horror. It might have worked as a mainstream horror in the 80s. It's very dark, so, I don't know. But either way, I would give it, I'm going to get pretty damn close anyway. I'm going to give it a 4.8.
Wow, nice. Yeah.
And the only reason I'm backing off of it is just because a couple of the things like you had mentioned, the story is not quite there, but it's not enough to bother me. I just know that, this is a movie that is flirting with like all-time greatness, and it's just lacking something to put it over that line. But having said that, there's nothing that I didn't enjoy about it. There's just some things that I wish had been there that aren't, but it doesn't really take away very much, and so that's why I have such a high rating, but not a perfect rating. I don't know, how about you?
Yeah, I ended up giving it a flat 4. The things that it does amazingly, and obviously this very much feels like a side project, like yeah. It was something that they like a passion project that they were also working on while doing their real job. So this was kind of like a side hustle movie, and And for what it was, and for the hell they went through for it, and for the budget constraints and all of this stuff, like, it is amazing. But obviously there are some places where it, you know, it's not up there with, like, Saint Maud and Black Christmas or The Thing itself.
Yeah.
It is a step down. So I felt like 4 is fair. Maybe I should have actually ranked it higher because it is a Loathsome Things, like How Many Loathsome Things, and this is pretty much like Apex Loathsome Thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and notch it up. I think it deserves at least a 4.5.
Yeah, I like that reasoning. I think, because you're right. I mean, if you're looking at it as a loathsome thing, then I probably do have to give it a 5, because it really does notch all the boxes for us.
It really does. Like, The Thing is probably the 10, like the ultimate 10.
For the Thing we wouldn't even have to cover, although it would be a lot of fun to talk about, but we wouldn't have to, because I can tell you right now, we're both going to give it a 5. There's no...
Oh, yeah.
We'd have to make a 6 just for that one, you know, because just to make it stand above, but...
Actually, I didn't like Kurt Russell's performance.
I mean, that movie is like, it's just modern horror perfection. Yeah, this movie definitely is a Loathsome Things movie. It's definitely a favorite for us, I think.
Yeah, it's just so fucking great.
I mean, it really is one of the reasons why we even started doing this. For, you know, it's one of the things that we would talk about when we would talk about, you know, if we ever talked about movies, you know, this was the kind of movie that we would want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was one of the ones that we referenced when we were talking about, you know, all right, well, what would we, you know, what types of movies would we talk about? What would the podcast even be like? This was one of the ones on both of our lists of, oh yeah, that's one. And we've referenced it in a lot of episodes. Every time we talk about something else, we're like, oh yeah, you know, like The Void.
That's true.
Oh, we should do that one
day. That's true. Yeah, no doubt about it. That was definitely, it was always going to be one that we got to, and we didn't want to, you know, do it right out of the chute, because I think we both wanted to be a little bit more comfortable talking while recording and stuff, and, you know, I think it fits right in now with our, we're obviously not going to get any better, so...
yeah, I was going to say, with so good we are at it now talking.
We just don't give a crap anymore, that's the difference.
Yeah, it's fine. This isn't gonna get us fewer listeners.
That's right. Oh my god.
Cool. So that is a 9.3 out of 10. I'm not positive, but I am very positive, actually, that puts it up in the top 10 of our best, greatest movies of all time, according to Loathsome Things, a horror movie podcast.
We've covered how many now? Is it over 50? Was this the one that put it over?
This is our 51st, if you don't count the episode we did covering 10 Hellraiser movies.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I guess there's that. Yeah, so, I mean, considering that we're that many movies in, and it's, it's still right up there with because, I mean, there are some bangers in that we've done so far.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, like, I was a little bit nervous about giving this a high score, because I think this is going to knock The Empty Man out of the top 10.
Interesting. And we really enjoyed that movie.
It's fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, I like The Void more.
I do too.
To be fair, The Empty Man does have Stephen Root, so...
Yeah, it's really good, but it also has that weird crush on that teenage girl that likes a cigarette. Yeah,
that's a little rough. Speaking of Stephen Root, my God, have you seen Barry, the series Barry?
I haven't.
On HBO, it's like a Bill Hader, the guy from SNL who, you know, does all the like goofy impressions and stuff. He plays a hitman who's like really awkward as a hitman, and you know, he goes out to LA to do a job and ends up like falling for some girl that goes to acting class. So then he joins acting class because he decides he wants to be an actor, and all the crazy shit that happens. But Stephen Root is like his boss, like the guy that finds the work for him, and he's fucking genius on that show. That show is so good. God. It is so good.
I'll have to watch that. That looks really good. And I love Bill Hader. He's always hilarious.
Oh, he's great. Stephen Root is great. Henry Winkler is on that show. He is amazing on that show.
Yes.
There's this guy who plays a Chechen mobster named NoHo Hank, because he's from North Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
And he's always like, "Hello, Barry." It's just, oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, highly recommended.
Have you seen Baskets?
Yeah, I saw at least the first season. I don't think I got further with Louis Anderson and
Yeah, that was the entirety of my point. Was Louis Anderson as his mom is the most genius thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's so good. That show's really good.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about Baskets. Oh man.
I got around to finally watching the Tom Papa stand-up comedy special that was directed by Rob Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
And you can definitely see the Rob Zombie in it. The
Really?
opening credits is Tom Papa backstage getting ready to go on stage, and he is just surrounded by carnival people. There's like a sad clown putting on makeup next to him and like a sad old cracked out beauty queen just watching him while he's getting ready. And as he's walking through the corridors, there's like a guy with a puppet. There's a fat woman that swallows swords and he has to pull the sword out of her throat, and just like all kinds of nonsense is going on. And then like Sherry Moon Frye has to like get a tap dancer off stage in order for Tom Papa to go on stage and do his routine.
My God. It's so meaningless.
Yeah, there's no reason. He was like, hey, you know, it would be funny if Rob Zombie did nonsense at the beginning of my special, so I could just talk about how much I hate being a father for an hour.
I know, it's like, oh my God. That's so weird. Oh, man. Oh, I watched The Strays. That was disturbing.
Fuck, dude, isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's hard to watch. It's really uncomfortable, but it's very good. Yeah.
It's very good. And that ending, like that, you don't get a lot of perfect endings like that.
No, that is a very confident ending.
Yes.
It's like, you know what? This is how we're going to end it, and fuck you.
Yeah. Jesus, that was great. I had not heard anything about it. Like, I've still to this day seen no hype about that movie. It's just very good.
It is. It's really good. I highly recommend that for sure. I was really surprised. Even after you had recommended it, I was still shocked. Like, wow, this movie pulls very few punches. It was it's great.
Yeah, and then like it doesn't even like get hard until the very end, and then you're like, oh my God, Jesus, dude,
that got real hard.
Gee, my ribs hurt.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. What about anything else? Have you seen anything else related to our topic and genre?
No, I haven't really seen any other horror stuff. I've been reading a lot, so that's been taking most of my time. Free time, nice. Anyway. How about you?
My life has been disturbingly full of just random, out of nowhere. I'm not looking for it. I'm not going in search of it. Just wherever I am. Also, kangaroos are showing up. I went bowling for the first time in years the other day, and then on one of the lanes where no one was playing, it was just playing happy.tv, and there was just footage of baby kangaroos jumping around happily. And another thing, there was like at my work, we were writing a thing about another place's office therapy pet is a baby kangaroo that they like have in the office and hang out with. And then also Microsoft Windows decided that my login screen every once in a while is going to just be a scenic photo of a kangaroo jumping across a desert at dusk. And I'm just like, what? Oh, fuck.
Wow, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and all the whole time, all I could think of is the desiccated upper half of kangaroo corpses lying in the dust. I'm just like, oh my God, why is life this way?
I like the idea that you're like at the bowling alley and you look up on happy.tv and you see like a little baby roo and they zoom in on it and then it turns and looks at you with one tear going down. Like, did anyone else see that?
Yeah, it survived the kangaroo holocaust of 71.
Kangaroo holocaust?
Oh God.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a weird thing. That's a really weird coincidence to have kangaroos popping up everywhere.
Everywhere. It's probably going to be for the rest of my life. Every time I see like happy kangaroo footage, I'll be like, oh.
It's like some weird transferal of guilt.
Yes. Also, to all of you wondering, wallabies are way better. They're little, fat, fluffy kangaroos, and yeah, I'm on the fuck kangaroos side now. Those guys suck.
Too soon.
I'm not transferring my guilt into anger. No. Fuck you, kangaroos. I hope you all die.
Fuck you, Ruse.
You're just a skinny, stupid wallaby.
Just a bouncy, really bouncy rabbit. Wow.
All right. Well, get back to your lives, folks. Go watch good TVs. If you know of a movie that reminds you of John Carpenter's The Thing, and we haven't mentioned it as one of the movies that reminds us of John Carpenter's The Thing, let us know about it because we want to watch that movie. That said, get tuned in. That's a saying, right? Get tuned in for April because we're going to have 3 episodes in April because of the way that calendars work. And so instead of doing it in October like we did last year, like 2 idiots, we're doing it in April. We're going to do 3 movies in a row, the original and then 2 remakes, but we're not going to tell you what it is unless probably your name is Ramon and I guess John talks to you on Messenger.
He had asked me. He was like, "You should tell people what you're gonna talk about next because then they can watch it before the episode." As in himself.
Yeah. Should we? We could tell him. We could tell him what we're doing 3 of.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I guess we can always do the caveat that one of us loses a limb in a terrible car accident. Maybe the next episode won't be this. We might have to put one from the can in or something. A Rue documentary or something.
just Josh crying, drinking, and watching kangaroo footage into the microphone, and then it skips around.
But yeah, I actually it was a really good point because it's like, who's going to stop the podcast and go watch a movie immediately? It would be when they could have 2 weeks to watch the fucking movie before the episode.
That's a good point. Okay, you know what, Ramon? You're right. Let's go ahead and tell the nice folks. We are going to watch the original 1950-something Red Scare version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and then the awesome 1970s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donnie South himself.
Yes.
And, Jeff Goldblum,
yep.
And probably a whole host of doppelganger other people, and then also the early 90s version that I haven't seen. I don't think John has even seen it. Body Snatchers from 1994 or something.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it, but I've read that it's actually supposed to be pretty good. So
the full familiarity I have with it is it used to, like, an edited version of it used to come on like TNT, and I used to see commercials for it, and it looked really scary.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, hopefully it is.
Yeah. So that's what we'll be doing in April. So go out there, watch those movies, study those Wikipedia pages, and fill out your Loathsome Things bingo card to see if you could figure out the predictable things that John and I will say.
And as always, I'm sorry you all have to die.